It's no secret that the cost of caravanning has risen quite sharply in recent years, and we're seeing an all-time slump in caravan sales at the moment. And for 2026, there is one manufacturer that's doing something about that, and they've actually produced the cheapest caravan on the market in the UK. And it's a bit of a different concept to what we're used to, and it certainly, I don't think, qualifies for Not Another White Box. But today we're going to take you on a tour of the new Sprite range, which is the cheapest range of caravans produced in the UK, with prices starting at £20,995 on the road. So welcome to Not Another White Box, the channel that brings you all that's cool, quirky and unusual in the caravan world. My name is Cameron, and we're here to explore the 2026 Sprite range. But first we need to take a bit of a history lesson, because Sprite is quite simply the biggest name in the history of caravanning. The original company was called Alpine Products, and it was founded by Sam Alper in 1948. And he is well regarded as the king of caravans, because he would oversee throughout the 1960s and 70s Sprite becoming the biggest name that the caravanning world has ever seen before or since. But it actually started from very humble beginnings, using war surplus to create their first caravan that was called the Streamlight Rover. Now, this thing was crazy. It was huge, it was square, it was boxy, it was very unlike anything else on the road, and actually stuck out like a sore thumb on a campsite. It used Spitfire wheels and the tail wheel from the landing gear as the jockey wheel, and it was actually constructed of an experimental material called holoplast. Unsurprisingly, it was not popular, and Sam Alper did something which no one had ever done at that point, and that was to ask the caravanning buying public what they actually wanted. By this point, it's the late 1940s, there's not a lot of money going around, and leisure activities are a real privilege for a few people. So obviously the answer was to create something really cheap, and I mean really cheap. The first caravan that he produced was a very simple boxy square design again, but it was much more simplified. Unbelievably, this new caravan would cost £199. Everybody said it couldn't be done, but here it was. Of course, this new model needed a name, and after much searching, Sprite was born. The year is 1950, and accidentally, he created something of a marketing monster, because the name Sprite would be synonymous with great value products for the next half a century. Unfortunately, Sprite Caravans went into administration in the recession of the early 1980s, but the name was bought out by many different companies until finally, in the early 1990s, Swift bought the name. They closed down the original factory in Newmarket and moved production back to Hull, where Swift were based. And actually the Sprite name disappeared from the British consciousness until around 2003, when the brand was resurrected by Swift. And initially this was again a budget model. It sold very well, and over the years Swift gradually increased the spec, the offering and the price of the Sprite product, to the point where, in my opinion, it kind of lost its way in the market, but it was still selling on brand loyalty and identity alone. So Swift clearly had to do some careful planning of how they could look after such an amazing legacy name and use it to its fullest potential. And that's where we land in 2026, just as Sam Alper did all those years ago, 75 years ago to be precise. They've gone back to the drawing board and asked the caravanning public what they want, and the answer is now what it was then: something that allows a cheap and affordable entry into the world of caravanning. And for that, I think the perfect name to be associated with it is Sprite. So how have Swift produced this caravan for the price that it is? I think we need to take a closer look, because the first thing I noticed is that at the hitch at the front, it doesn't come with a stabilizer hitch. Now, it is an option, you can have one fitted, but straight away that saves several £100s on the cost of the caravan. Do you need a stabilizer hitch? I'm talking as someone who tows a variety of caravans that are too old to have a stabilizer hitch fitted, and I'm telling you, if it's loaded properly and you matched to a good tow car, no, I cannot envisage that being a problem at all. And I've seen a little bit of criticism online for that, some people saying that they feel like that might be a step too far. I just need to assure you that if the Caravan is loaded properly, and if Swift have done their bit in the design department, which I'm assuming they have, to ensure that it's a nicely balanced Caravan, that's not going to be an issue at all. But apart from that, there's nothing else to give it away. I mean, it doesn't have the Allco ATC trailer control. Again, it's an option. You can have it if you want. So if you're a first-time caravanner and you're a bit nervous about taking to the road, you might want to tick the option for the Allco ATC trailer control and the stabilizer hitch, just for peace of mind. The point is, it's all available. You can have it fitted, but the old Sprite range didn't have ATC anyway. I think it might have been an option back then. Swift changed their options and offerings quite regularly. I actually quite like this idea of starting with the basic Caravan and adding in the bits that you need along the way. But yeah, apart from the stabilizer hitch, there's nothing else about the exterior that particularly gives away its £21,000 price, because this is now cheaper than the old Alpine 4 was. But elsewhere on the Caravan, there isn't a TV aerial, so they've saved some money there as well. And there is no Allco wheel lock receiver, which again, not the end of the world. These are things that actually cost the manufacturer a lot of money to supply and fit. And if you're not going to reap the benefits of that, I mean, we don't use a TV aerial in our Caravan. We're streaming things like most people do. So actually, Swift beginning to logically think through what they offer on the Caravan to just streamline that price to make it a more attractive package. And it really is an attractive package. No jokes, please. It's a really nice looking Caravan, and I love the soft grey sides with the new very bold dark graphics. It just doesn't scream basic Caravan to me. It looks a little bit more elevated than that. So yeah, let's explore some of the interiors, and we'll start with this Alpine 4. Well, first impressions, and I have to say I'm actually really impressed. Just to put this model into context, it is slightly cheaper than the Bailey Discovery. It's quite a lot cheaper than the Bailey Discovery D44, which is their fixed bed model. It's also almost the same price, slightly less than the Explore XC range. Certainly if you were putting this against the XC Quad, which is their fixed bed equivalent, which isn't a fair comparison because the XC Quad is a transverse island bed, whereas this is a corner French bed. It's a very compact Caravan, this Sprite Alpine, but it's nearly £5,000 less. And I know the Explorer has tons of kit and spec, but actually as a Caravan to sit in, aesthetically, it's really, really nice. I'm glad that they stuck with curtains, because these curtains are actually some of the nicest curtains I've seen at the show. They're very contemporary. It's very sort of Scandi vibes in here, without being an assault of beige. That's no shade to any of the other manufacturers. We've got this lovely sort of speckled upholstery, and it actually feels really good quality and feels very comfortable to sit on. And elsewhere you do have obviously quite a lot of white and bits of beige, but it's contrasted with the dark units down below, sort of at low level, the bottom of the bed, the lower parts of the bedroom area are all this dark colour to sort of just soften the beigeness in here. And actually the overall result is, I cannot believe that this is the cheapest British built van on the market, because it just doesn't look it. And even the giant panoramic roof, which if you know the history of Swift, the cheaper models rarely got these, or at least they were an optional extra. So, you know, I think they've really done a great job of making this look more expensive than it is. I've got to be honest, the more I look at the new budget Sprite, I just can't believe it's a budget Caravan. This kitchen to me looks like a perfectly normal kitchen. Again, the only thing that gives it away for being a cheaper Caravan is the fact that it's got the combination oven and grill and only 3 burners at the top. But again, how much more do you need? I've never used the oven and grill at the same time, so I don't know why all these British caravans insist on fitting these huge, heavy oven units for something that you're probably not going to use that much. The only emission elsewhere is the microwave, but again, it's an option. You can have one. Personally, we would never use the microwave in the Caravan, so I'm quite glad to see that it doesn't have one, because as a family of 4 using this, I would certainly welcome this extra cupboard space. But everything, the fit, the finish, the feel, all the catches and things, we've even got this nice wooden utensil drawer, it all feels good quality. It doesn't feel like a basic Caravan at all. And I think this kitchen is actually a very practical, workable kitchen. We've got this lovely big round sink, then there'll be a removable drainer to go on the side, but there's actually a decent amount of worktop space. There's no worktop extension at the end, but I just don't really think that you need it. It's a pretty decent space, and yeah, if you can't tell, I'm quite impressed. Opposite the kitchen, we've got a lovely big wardrobe area, and again, for 4 people in a compact Caravan, this space is absolutely huge. It's a really practical space, and there's loads of room for storing everything that you would need for a holiday, even with a family of 4. Another little cost-saving measure is there's no concertina blind here. Instead, you've got a proper curtain. And I'm sorry, if you've not seen the concertina blinds that the British caravan industry loves, they remind me of the curtains that the NHS use around hospital beds. They look so cheap, and for some reason they only come in hearing aid beige. So actually, although this curtain is a cost-cutting measure, to me it looks a bit more elevated than those flimsy little concertina curtain things. So again, doesn't really look like it's a cheap Caravan. I'm quite a fan of that, I have to admit. At the back end of the Alpine, we've got the fixed bed, and this is what we call a French bed. So it's against the wall, is the definition of a French bed. So one of you does have to climb over the other one if you're getting up in the night. I can't really critique this because this Caravan is just less than 5 meters long overall, so technically by modern standards it's a compact Caravan, and squeezing in a fixed bed and the big kitchen and the lounge at the front into such a small body shell is no mean feat. So I think Swift have done really well. We've actually got the Duvet mattress in here. I don't think there's a mattress upgrade available because this is actually a really comfortable mattress. Swift have managed to save costs on some of the things that you might not use, but it's nice to see that they've not skimped on the things that matter, like the comfort of the mattress, and again with the upholstery like I mentioned. The only compromise with this particular model is the washroom arrangement, which, like I said, it's the limitations of the size they've got. So the sink is actually in the corner of the bedroom. It's giving 1950s B&B at the seafront, if I'm honest, but it works, it's practical. And then we've got a combination wet room at the back, which incorporates the shower and the toilet. And it's still got the Truma Combi heating system. So we've got blown air heating, and hot water works on gas and electric. So, you know, overall, I think the Alpine 4 is a very compact Caravan, but it kind of just has everything in that you need. But the big news for 2026 is the brand new Alpine DB, which I think I'm right in saying is the only brand new layout at the Caravan show from any of the British manufacturers. So let's go see what all the fuss is about with the Alpine DB. The Alpine 4DB shares the same body shell with the Alpine with the fixed bed, and these are some of the ways in which manufacturers can cleverly save costs by not producing 2 body shells. They also share the same kitchen unit as well. It all helps keep the cost down, but you as the consumer wouldn't really notice that. So it's clever how they've re-engineered that to offer a completely different model, because unlike the fixed bed model, this is a model that's a little bit more suited to families because it now incorporates a dinette at the back. So yeah, I've not actually been inside it yet, so I'm excited to see what it looks like. So the front end, the kitchen, the wardrobe, etc. is pretty much identical to the Alpine with the fixed bed. But then back here is where it all changes. We've got this little dinette area that has a bunk bed which folds out of here. We'll come to about here. So it is actually a 4-berth. And I actually like this, the whole setup, because if you imagine you're a family of four, you know, you've got parents at the front, kids at the back, they've kind of got their own space back here. It's almost like their own little den at the back of the caravan. And you can put them to bed, and parents can still sit at the front and stay up for a few more hours before they go to bed themselves. So as a practical family caravan, it's certainly ticking a lot of boxes. It is slightly more expensive than the Alpine, but not by much. There's just less than £500 difference between them. So it's still £21,500, which I think is excellent value for money for this model. I'll be honest, it kind of reminds me of the old Musketeer that Sprite used to offer from around about 2008, 2009 onwards, and it was dropped a few years ago. That had a double bed at the back that folded out of the dinette and a really compact corner washroom. But the new Alpine DB is hiding a much better washroom setup, especially for a family, because we've actually now got a proper washroom space that has a separate shower, so you don't have to get the toilet and everything wet every time you use the shower. And you know, if you're getting the kids ready for bed, you can sort them out in here without making a mess of the caravan with the towels and everything. It's a nice contained family-sized washroom in what is a caravan that's still less than 5 meters long, so it's really compact. I'm really impressed by this, and I know there's going to be criticisms, and there always is, and invariably they'll all be in the comments below, but you've just got to keep remembering this is one of the cheapest 4-berth caravans that you can buy today. And to me, I would be quite proud to buy this and tow it onto site and not feel like I have a cheap caravan. They've certainly done a really good job of editing what they can to keep the price down, but also just offering great value for money. At the top of the Sprite range, we've got the Major for EB and the Major for SB, and it's basically a transverse island or a rear island bed. And again, it's the cheapest and most lightweight fixed island bed tourer on the market, which I guess gives it a decent claim to fame. This caravan is huge. This is a very conventionally sized caravan, unlike the small Alpines. And again, it's a very popular caravan, so it's nice to see that Swift have kept that on for 2026. Of course, this being a bigger caravan than the Alpines, we've got a much bigger front lounge area and now got the chest of drawers, which incorporates a little slide out table. All very standard stuff for British caravans, although I do quite like this front shelf. It just gives a bit more space. You can put trinkets and ornaments and things, and we know caravanners love a good trinket. So yeah, it's a very warm, inviting, cozy space. Like I keep saying, doesn't scream budget caravan to me at all. And talking of budget, the Major starts from £23,000. So it is really cheap for a caravan of this size. Again, I'm not really sure how Swift are doing this. I just think it's amazing value for money. We've got a very similar kitchen setup to the Alpine, but it's got this little piece next to the door, which I don't really know what purpose it's serving, other than the shelves here you could possibly put shoes in, but you know, it's keeping the space open rather than putting a big wardrobe unit or something here. It actually feels like quite a spacious caravan. But then when we move through here, we get to the central washroom, and I'll be honest, I don't love the so-called Jack and Jill washroom arrangement that Swift favour with the rear island bed. But you know, if you want a rear island bed and a central washroom, it's a design that obviously works and is popular. So we've got a separate shower. We've got the fitted toilet with the electric flush. Again, I was kind of expecting a manual flush in a caravan at this price point. So, you know, whoever went through all the options logically at Swift has done a brilliant job of still retaining all the bits that caravanners see as being something that cheapens down the look and feel of the caravan, and they've retained some of these features just to keep it feeling substantial. And again, it just absolutely belies its price tag. I'm astounded, £23,000 for this. When you think of some of the offerings from rival manufacturers like the Bailey Phoenix, that is about 26, the Explorer XC Quad, which has the transverse iron bed, again, that's nearly 26,000, that is over 26,000 pounds by the time it's on the road. This is a good 3,000 pounds less, and to me feels a higher standard of finish inside, with the textures, the materials, just the softness of it all. It feels very cozy. So yeah, I think Swifts have done an amazing job with the Sprite range for 2026. So that concludes our tour of the Sprite range for 2026. And if you can't tell, I absolutely love it. I think Swift have done a fantastic job of producing a tourer for a cheaper price without making it feel like a cheap Caravan. And I know more than most, working within the caravan industry like I do, that the consumer is crying out for cheaper Caravans. And Swift have pulled the ultimate trick here of making a Caravan that's cheap in price, but it doesn't look or feel cheap. So do check out the new Sprite range. I hope you've enjoyed taking a tour of them today. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It's free. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.